All right, y'all, we are back with another video. I definitely had to bring y'all this. Now, like I said before, man, this stuff like this just has to stop. And of course, the rhetoric that is coming from the left, they is continuing to put out a whole bunch of rhetoric, a whole bunch of lies. And of course, it always fuels some stupid people to go do some stupid stuff. So I had to bring y'all this today because now you got a 29-year-old kid with just on top of a roof sniping. Pretty much, they said it was 2 fatalities and some injuries. Not only that, then he took himself out. And then you go to CNN and MSNBC, they keep on talking about we don't know his motive. They always say that. But yet, the bullets that the FBI found when they reached the rooftop, he pretty much had bullets that said anti-ice on it. But yet, CNN and MSDNC keep on saying we don't know his motive. They always use this. Not only that, they trying to blame the Trump administration for this. I just don't get it. It's just like this is what these people continue to do, continue to lie. And now you got Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries. You know, he's the dollar store Barack Obama. That's what Hakeem Jeffries is. Ain't nothing but a dollar store Barack Obama. And so now they threaten to shut down government if President Trump don't let illegal aliens get free health care and all of that. Like, what is wrong with these Democrats? That's the reason why they lost in the first place. So we definitely going to dive straight into this. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Shout out to everybody showing so much support. And shout out to the one that always watches the entire video. I appreciate all of you because it definitely helps get the video out there. And like I said, the ones that let me know that you did stay to the end. And the one that comes straight in and hit that like button. That's very, very important. Please hit that like button for me. It's free. Please hit that like button for me. And like I said, of course, President Trump, he jumped on this immediately. He acted very, very quickly. And I'm going to show y'all exactly what President Trump said on True Social, because not only is he really addressing that, he just really addressing these Democrats in whole because of the stuff that they constantly saying, the rhetoric of what they trying to threaten him with if he don't, let illegal aliens get free health care and what fueling these people to do what they doing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive straight into this. Because like I said, this right here is just, at this point, is just getting out of hand. So you can see right here on the screen right here by Benny Just say, breaking a shooting just took place at a Texas ICE facility. The sniper firing from a rooftop later died from a self-inflicted gunshot, according to Fox. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem confirmed there are multiple fatalities and injuries.
Lawrence, and that's why I mentioned that Sally port. So apparently it occurred when detainees were being brought into this Sally port. This shooter, we're not sure exactly where he was located, but was able to shoot into that Sally port and struck at least 3 people. That shooter now is down from this self-inflicted wound. So we may not know exactly what his plan was, what they were intending to do, other than to shoot people this morning at an ICE facility. We're learning more as we get it. And particularly, we're interested, obviously, in learning about the conditions of the 3 individuals that were struck this morning.
Yeah, that's I-35. The east side is where you see most of the traffic. People are probably slowing down to watch and see what's going on. Look at all of the police cars. There's so many lights that go all the way up to the top. This is the access road in Texas. You have your main highway, and then you always have those access roads that run alongside or parallel to the highway.
Hey, Griff, I also noticed that some people are reporting the sniper was on a rooftop. Have you heard that?
So we don't have that confirmed ourselves, but I'm talking directly to ICE authorities, and we're going to learn more about that. But I did see a local report that there would be a rooftop. And Brian, as you look at both the map on our screen as well as the surrounding area of the law enforcement response, you can see several rooftops. And for anyone that's, been to a facility like this, the Sally.
Wow. And then I want to show y'all this because now you get people like Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is one of these people who be sitting up here lying, pushing out rhetoric, lies on President Trump. And this is what she loved to get on camera and say this right here.
We have got to stop demonizing each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I think most of that right now in our country's history is coming, from the right, coming from people.
Oh, my God. We got to stop demonizing each other. And I think most of it coming from the right, but the left is the one that's doing the killing. The left is the one that's, trying to take out President Trump not once but twice. The left was the one that just assassinated Charlie Kirk. But everything is coming from the right. See, that's what I'm saying. They just get on here and just lie for no reason. It's like they won't even just admit that they are the one that's in the wrong. They just won't admit it. That's why you never see Hillary Clinton go to Fox News. She's just going to stay on CNN, MSNBC, because it ain't going to be no pushback. They're going to just let us spew all them lies like they always do. This is insane.
Right now in our country's history is coming, from the right, coming from people who want to dominate. They want their point of view. Writing out slavery from history, that doesn't make it go away. We have got to stop with the finger pointing.
Oh, man, shut your damn
Lawrence,
mouth.
and that's why I meant.
So like I said, let's go ahead and, like I said, dive straight into this. And, of course, you got Gavin Newsom sitting up here running his mouth, and J.D. Vance just absolutely just went off on him. Because now, Benny had wrote this right here. He said, in just the past few weeks, Charlie Kirk was assassinated by a leftist. ICE facilities in Dallas and Fort Worth shot up. ABC station in Sacramento shot up by a DNC mega donor. A bomb planted on a Fox News vehicle bomb threat at RFK Jr.'s home. Thousands of leftists celebrated Kirk's death. Massive Charlie Kirk memorial vandalized and destroyed in Arizona. Students at Texas Tech and Texas State assaulted and threatened Kirk's supporters. Democrat pedo George Zinn falsely claimed to be Kirk's shooter, helping the assassin escape. A trans radical murdered Catholic children. Left-wing violence is out of control. It will get worse and won't stop until it's taken seriously. Enough is enough. And you got Hillary Clinton saying everything is coming from the right. So that's what I'm saying. They just get on here and lie. And they're going to continue to do it. Just sit up here and just tell a lie. And, of course, what does CNN do? CNN is reporting on the shooting at the Dallas ICE facility this morning. We don't know what the motive of the shooter is, but yet they seen what the bullet said.
Those ICE agents not shot or hurt. We do not know, however, the motive of the shooter. That still remains an open question and will be under investigation, and we'll be continuing to ask our sources more about that. But what the Department of Homeland Security has pointed out is that this same facility back in late August also had to contend with a bomb threat at that facility. So certainly ICE has been contending with additional assaults, attacks.
And this is what they're doing. They never know the motive. That's what they always say. We don't know the motive. We don't know the motive. Ain't nothing but a freaking lie. And as y'all can see right here, you can see by Nick Sword, it said, breaking President Trump response to the attack on ICE Dallas facility. This violence is the result of the radical left Democrat constantly demonizing law enforcement, calling for ICE to be demolished and comparing ICE officers to Nazis. That's exactly what they've been doing. And let's read what President Trump said. He said, I have been briefed on the deadly shooting at the ICE field office in Dallas, Texas. It has now been revealed the deranged shooter wrote anti-ICE on his shell case, and this is despicable. The brave men and women of ICE are trying to do their jobs and remove the worst of the worst criminals out of our country, but they are facing an unprecedented increase in threats, violence, and attacks by deranged radical leftists. This violence is the result of the radical left Democrats constantly demonizing law enforcement, calling for ICE to be demolished and comparing ICE officers to Nazis. The continuing violence for radical left terrorists in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination must be stopped. ICE officers and other brave members of law enforcement are under grave threat. We have already declared Antifa as a terrorist organization and will be signing an executive order this week to dismantle these domestic terrorism networks. I am calling on all Democrats to stop this rhetoric against ICE and America's law enforcement right now. The Trump administration is fully committed to backing law enforcement, strong borders, securing our homeland, deporting violent illegal criminals, and fully rooting out the left-wing domestic terrorism that is terrorizing our country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And that right there is exactly what President Trump had to say about all of this.
I don't know if you all have followed the news, and we're still learning a little bit about it, but what we know is that in Dallas, Texas, an ICE facility, an Immigrations and Customs Enforcement facility, was opened fire upon by a violent left-wing extremist, a person who wrote anti-ICE messaging on their bullets, and there's some evidence that we have that's not yet public, but we know this person was politically motivated. They were politically motivated to go after law enforcement. They were politically motivated to go after people who are enforcing our border. And I think that is the most disgusting thing. The very people who keep us safe ought to be honored and protected and praised by Democrats and Republicans alike. It is time to stop the rhetorical assault on law enforcement. Because here's what happens. Because here's what happens when Democrats like Gavin Newsom did say that these people are part of an authoritarian government. When the left-wing media lies about what they're doing, when they lie about who they're arresting, when they lie about the actual job of law enforcement, what they're doing is encouraging crazy people to go and commit violence. You don't have to agree with my immigration policies. You don't have to agree with Donald Trump's immigration policies. But if your political rhetoric encourages violence against our law enforcement, you can go straight to hell and you have no place in the political conversation of the United States of America.
So, if you look at this right here, you can see the bullet right here by Benny John. He said, breaking, FBI releases photos showing anti-ICE engraved on shell casings from Dallas ICE facility shooting. You can see it say anti-ICE on it right here. But then CNN report, like, we don't know the motive. We don't know the motive. I mean, like stuff like this is ridiculous. And you can see Benny Johnson said, breaking, authorities identified 29-year-old Joshua John as the Dallas ICE facility shooter. He was later found dead from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot nearby. It is confirmed he had anti-ICE messenger engraved on his ammunition. And I'll show y'all a picture of him in just a second. So you see Ben Johnson say a violent leftist just climbed onto a roof and opened fire on an ICE facility using bullets engraved with anti-ICE. This is what happened when left-wing extremists are excused, praised, and emboldened by politicians and media. When people like Newsom, Kimmel, and Tim Walz attack conservatives and law enforcement with every breath, this is the result. Just hours after Newsom incited violence against ICE, a facility was shot up. Left-wing terror is out of control. 4 attacks in 2 weeks, and it's only getting worse. The federal government must act with overwhelming force and destroy its threat mercilessly. This is not a both sides issue. The violence comes almost entirely from the left, and it will keep escalating if we do nothing. And Ben is exactly right. Something has to be done because, like I said before, that's the only way it's going to stop. It's not going to stop if something is not done. So I do want to explain this right here. What Ben said, he said the FBI and DOJ need to immediately investigate and prosecute the dark, twisted networks that's funding violent leftists, attacking conservatives and law enforcement.
You have served in war zones. Here's photos of you in Iraq. You have served in counterinsurgency and you fought actual terrorist cells. What needs to be done here against domestic terrorists who have yet again this morning terrorized federal agents, attacked the federal government, shot at an ICE facility with the intention to kill, and as far as we know right now, reportedly have taken the lives of 3 individuals at this ICE facility? What must happen now?
Well, I think justice has to happen, but it has to happen fast. I mean, people are sick and tired of like somebody trying to assassinate somebody or this shooter that killed our friend Charlie Kirk, and it'll be a year or 2 years before it even gets before a judge. That's frustrating to people when justice takes that long to happen. So in this particular incident, these attacks on ICE agents, I mean, the law is already pretty clear. If you attempt to murder a law enforcement officer, you can get capital punishment for that. And this occurred in Texas. I'm sure they have the capital penalty like we do in Florida. And the trial should happen quick. Justice should be served. And maybe that would be a deterrent to some of these other people. But here's the other piece of this too, is the FBI and the DOJ need to do a deep dive into this person's network. Because obviously this is a group of people, like you mentioned that the last attack on this facility was a group of Antifa people. I can guarantee you they're somehow linked into this. So making this a conspiracy to kill law enforcement officers and being able to charge all of these people for these different crimes and put away the network that is supporting these type of activities, I think will go a really, really long way.
Wouldn't terrorism have different courts? I'm no lawyer. But wouldn't there be like a swifter or potential military process where you could have different courts if you are actively committing in an organized fashion terrorism acts against the U.S. federal government and its law enforcement? Agent?
If it happened on a military base, you could go through the UCMJ. But if it happens in like this incident, the state laws would apply, and then federal laws would apply, and they could get charged in both jurisdictions. They could get charged in the state court and charged in the federal court. Now, state courts typically move a lot faster than the federal courts do, but there's nothing that would allow some type of terrorist court specific to that unless it happened on a military base. Now, overseas, the bad guys that we prosecuted, obviously a totally different scenario because that happened overseas. But like the stuff that we're seeing here has to be prosecuted in the state courts and or federal courts, depending on the crimes that were committed.
Even if they're part of a terrorist organization that's been designated as Antifa, as a designated domestic terrorist organization?
Yeah, but go after them under the conspiracy charges in the federal law. I mean, those have huge penalties. You can put these people away for a really long time. And I think people think they can hide behind a keyboard and inciting violence, hide behind a keyboard and organizing these type of attacks on law enforcement officials. You start putting those people in handcuffs under a conspiracy to kill law enforcement officers charges. And I think that will go a long way to, one, deter people from that type of activity, and two, put bad people in prison where they.
And there you go right there. And like I said, he's exactly right. You see Donald Trump Jr. pretty much saying Jimmy Kimmel still refused to admit that it was a leftist who assassinated Charlie. That's what I'm saying. They let him back on air and he still didn't get on there and say what he's supposed to say. So it's just stuff like this. So this is the kid right here that just did this, that pretty much it said 1 dead, 2 injured, and the reports confirm he voted in the 2020 Democratic primary in Texas. So you can see right here's a breaking. Dallas ICE shooter identified as 29-year-old Joshua John. And this is just insane, man. This is insane. Another chilling example of left-wing political violence spiraling out of control. You can see him right here. And this right here pretty much showed like his voting history and stuff like that. Just freaking-sane. I'm not going to go down on this page because it's going to show him on. I'm not even going to see it. So we'll just move on. So right here by Fox News said breaking, the FBI confirms it is investigating the fatal shooting at a Dallas ICE facility as an act of targeted violence. The FBI also concerns the bullet rounds found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence, to include here in North Texas, where back on July 4th, we saw a coordinated attack carried out against an immigration detention center in Alvarado, Texas. What I can also share with you is that early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature. Again, this is just the most recent example of this type of attack. This will be a whole of government response. There will be no resource not utilized to bring all those individuals who are responsible to bring them to justice and to hold them accountable.
There you go. And like I say, even Cash Patel, posted it, said this morning just before 7 a.m. local time, an individual fired multiple rounds at a Dallas, Texas ICE facility, taking out one, wounding several others before taking his own life. FBI, DHS, ATF are on the ground with Dallas PD and state authorities. While the investigation is ongoing, the initial review of the evidence shows an ideological motive behind this attack. See photo below. One of the upspent shell casings recovered was engraved with the phrase anti-ICE. More updates will be forthcoming. These despicable politically motivated attacks against law enforcement are not a one-off. We are only miles from Prairie Land, Texas, where just 2 months ago an individual ambushed a separate ICE facility targeting their officers. It has to end, and the FBI and our partners will lead these investigations efforts to see to it that those who target our law enforcement are pursued and brought to the fullest extent of justice. Thankfully, no law enforcement personnel was injured. Please pray for the injured and deceased. And that right there was, like I said, coming from Cash Patel on this. And, of course, MSNBC is going to do what MSNBC do. Just in, MSNBC suggests that leftist terrorists who are writing political messages on bullets are actually being influenced by right-wingers. My God, they still running with it.
Inspired? Are you worried about copycats?
Yes. I don't know if the rooftop trend is going to be a thing. I mean, it could just be coincidental that the best vantage point just happened to be elevated positions in this case. But people emulating this kind of attack is certainly a concern. The irony with the writing, the first time we really saw that was Brenton Tarrant in the Christchurch shooting in a mosque in New Zealand, and he was a fierce, white supremacist and neo-Nazi, and wrote all over his weapon and his rounds very hateful information. So to see this coming from, potentially the other side of the political spectrum is a little strange, because it is not something, if you are trying to, carry out some kind of message countering, more extreme right-wing stuff, I don't know why you would, use a tactic that a famous white supremacist who has been revered and copycatted over the years by other white supremacists, why you would do that. But it does appear that people are moving in that direction because they want people to know what they're doing and why they're doing it. Again, terrorism is theater. They want people to understand their message and why they're doing this, and why, in some cases it's a narrow act of violence, and it's not supposed to be a mass murder.
And let's just say it don't stop right there either. Check this out by Gunther Eagleman. He said, breaking, both CNN and MSNBC are in damage control after the press conference where Leos confirmed the attacker as a far-left radical. Even they can't deny that this is a copycat following in the footsteps of other extremists. The media is guilty for this violence.
Got there. What was your top takeaway listening?
Well, one other clarification, Anna, which is that they're now saying that one person, in addition to the shooter, was killed, not two. So one person killed, two injured, in addition to the shooter, if I heard that correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. But
that's what I got, too. Two people deceased, including the shooter.
Okay. And look, I think the bullet casings engraved with anti-ICE messages is a huge and key revelation in this case, because this is now the third instance of targeted violence where we're seeing that. Obviously, the Charlie Kirk assassination and the Luigi Mangione alleged killing of the United Healthcare CEO in New York being the others, and that suggests that there's a copycat phenomenon going on here. And the fact that they're investigating this as a potential act of targeted violence, I think we can conclude that.
Of course, we know it's a copycat. They seeing other people doing it, and they doing it. But like I said before, they listening to CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS. They listen to what all these people say. And like I said, the dollar store Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton. They listen to all of these slow people that be pushing this rhetoric. Saying Nazis, Donald Trump is Hitler, like all of this stuff that they be saying. You get crazy, stupid people that'll go out and try to attack, like I said, the officers and stuff like that in ICE. A 29-year-old kid, 29-year-old, I ain't even gonna say kid, a 29-year-old man. This is just insane, man. This is insane.
ICE was targeted here based on that piece of evidence. That is extremely significant, and just cast this in a new light and suggest that this is the latest in a series of incidents that really underscore the problem that we are experiencing right now in this country with politically motivated violence. And you heard the Senator Ted Cruz there talking about dialing down the rhetoric. That is a perfectly reasonable thing to say, but this issue of immigration and what ICE is doing in communities is incredibly divisive, and it's hard to imagine really that people are going to stop feeling as strongly as they do about it. But we all need to be mindful of the fact that people are being attacked and killed as a result, perhaps, of some of this rhetoric. So those were my takeaways.
Yeah, Rosa, one of the things.
Wow.
Based on messages being written on the shell casings found near the shooter, who we are told took his own life after the shooting, gives us some now direction as to motive. Anti-ICE messages. We also heard from the ICE official who, making a turn, said, referring to the July 4th shooting you and I were talking about a short time ago at another ICE location from an individual who fired from on the ground, that the rhetoric has to stop, he said. It just has to stop. There is no secret, given the events of the last couple of weeks, that we are in a very brittle time in terms of politics, in terms of rhetoric, and in terms of violence. What we now are hearing from people briefed on this investigation is the following, which is this was a busy morning. It's prior to 7 a.m. Teams that have been out executing arrests in the early morning hours are coming back in with detainees to this facility, and that one of these, a van, not a van, we are told, from ICE, but from another agency, another federal agency that was out making arrests on behalf of ICE, is approaching that location, and that suddenly, from an elevated location, someone opens fire on that van. Now, Pam, you know these vans. We've seen them before at federal facilities. Typically, these are vans that have tinted windows, so you can't see whether they're occupied or who they're occupied by. I would suspect that that's probably the case in this instance. When someone opened fire on the van, whether they were aiming for the driver or the person in the passenger seat, or they believed that the van might have contained federal agents but weren't able to see, they were, according to the FBI, believed to be targeting federal law enforcement officers when they opened fire. So that is starting to come together with a slightly more granular picture. In that instance, an assault on federal officers, even if that was just the intent, would be an investigation where the FBI would be taking the lead. What we are told, though, is that the people who were wounded and one who was killed were not law enforcement officers, not ICE officers. So it is likely that they were people who had been picked up by those agents this morning and were being brought into that detention facility.
What do you make of Governor Abbott calling this an assassination?
Wow, man. And that just go to show you that, like I said before, this stuff right here just has to freaking stop. It just has to stop because, like I said, the rhetoric is going to continue to come from CNN. It's going to continue to come from, like, the left. And then when something happens, they act like it's not their fault. What they do, they turn around and just blame the right. Every single time. It's the right's fault. The right did this. But they just won't take accountability because they know that they the ones that is causing this because of the rhetoric that comes out of their mouth. So I wanted to show y'all what President Trump said. Make sure I show y'all this. So President Trump had made a post. Make sure y'all can see it on screen. It says the Democrats want illegal aliens, many of them violent criminals, to receive free health care. The Democrats want $500 million to help radical left news outlets. The Democrats want to leave dead people on Medicaid and Social Security rolls so that criminals can continue to be allowed to receive that payment and steal their money. The Democrats want to cut billions of dollars from our once vulnerable rural hospital, which will fix by giving them the largest cash infusion ever. The Democrats want men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody, open borders, and perhaps more importantly of all, a 5-letter word, crime. They like it and we don't, and so many other things that would destroy America. We cannot let this happen. President Trump is exactly right. Because if he take that deal from Chuck Schumer and them, about letting a illegal alien get free hair care, then in 2028, whoever run, they're going to be like, oh, look, Donald Trump lied to y'all. He said he wasn't going to, let illegal aliens get free hair care, but he did. Look at this. That's what they want. They want Donald Trump to fall for it so they can have something to use against J.D. Vance in 2028 to go to saying the Trump administration lied. They said they weren't going to do this, but they did this. They said they weren't going to do this, but they did this. That's what they're trying to go with, and President Trump is not letting that happen. He's just not letting that happen at all. So then you check out this other one right here. Make sure y'all can see that one. He said, after reviewing the details of the unserious and ridiculous demands being made by minority radical left Democrats in return for their votes to keep our thriving country open, I have decided that no meeting with their congressional leaders could possibly be productive. They are threatening to shut down the government of the United States unless they can have over $1 trillion in new spending to continue free health care for illegal aliens, a monumental cost, force taxpayers to fund transgender surgery for minors, have dead people on the Medicaid rolls, allow legal alien criminals to steal billions of dollars in American taxpayer benefits, try to force our country to again open our borders to criminals and to the world, allow men to play in women's sports, essentially create a transgender operation for everybody. These radical left views and policies is what allowed me to win the presidential election, including all 7 swing states and the popular vote. In a historic landslide, there are consequences to lose an election, but based on the letter to me, the Democrats haven't figured that out yet. They are trying to eliminate the popular $50 billion rural and vulnerable hospital fund, which was passed with only one Republican votes, and with only Republican votes, and proudly signed into law by me. The Democrats in Congress seem to have totally lost their way. They obviously have no idea what it means to put America first or to make America great again. All congressional Democrats want to do is enact radical left policies that nobody voted for: high taxes, open borders, no consequences for violent criminals, men and women's sports, taxpayer-funded transgender surgery, and much more. Few people voted for what they represent, which would lead to the destruction of America. Instead, people voted for common sense, and that's what the Republicans and your president, Donald J. Trump, stand for. I look forward to meeting with them if they get serious about the future of our nation. We must keep the government open and legislate like true patriots rather than hold American citizens hostage, knowing that they want our now thriving country closed. I'll be happy to meet with them if they agree to the principles in this letter. They must do their job. Otherwise, it would just be another long and brutal slog through their radical lies quicksand. To the leaders of the Democrat Party, the ball is in your court. I look forward to meeting with you when you become realistic about things that our country stands for. Do the right thing. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. And that right there is what President Trump said. So like I said, y'all get in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think about this. Like I said, I will keep y'all up to date. You know, as more information comes out, because of course, Cash Patel said they're gonna be investigating all of this, and so that's why I say I keep y'all up to date as more stuff come out. And like I said, thank you all for watching. Let me know what y'all think about this down below in the comment section, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.